Chimney and Fireplace Success Network, a weekly broadcast sponsored by CVC Coaching, hosted each week by industry speaker, coach, author, and educator Sheryl Isenhour. Our presentations are produced to assist business owners and managers in turning their business dreams into their business realities. And now, here's your host, Sheryl Isenhour.
And I want to welcome you once again to the Chimney and Fireplace Success Network. Hey, today we are coming out with episode number 51, sponsored every week by CVC Coaching. Check out our Basecamp e-learning platform. It's the most phenomenal way to train new members of your team and to go through ongoing continuous training for every member of your team. So today, we got something really great we're going to share with you today. And I'm going to start out by telling you, I think we have cracked the code on how to hire. Yep, that's right. The biggest challenge that everybody seems to face is not making the phone ring, it's getting the right people on our team. So my guest today is none other than a member of our team who has recently moved to an entirely new level with her certification and what she's able to offer our clients here at CVC Coaching. And that person is none other than my wife, Sheryl Isenhour. But she's not here as my wife. She's here today to talk to you and tell you about something called DISC assessment, and how DISC assessment just may be the tool that you've been looking for, not only for hiring, but also for being able to build your team to that phenomenal level of having an entire team of rock stars. So settle back, listen in, and hey, I think we got some really good tools and tactics that we're going to share with you today. So first of all, thanks for joining us. And also, we hope this will be a time that is going to be of ultimate, sincere value to you. So, Sheryl, you out there with me today, ready to rock and roll on this?
I'm ready to rock and roll. And let me clarify something that you just said. I am your wife, but in the CVC coaching team, that has nothing to do with it. I'm here in last name only, if you understand that situation. And another thing, I'm just looking at, you said it was the 51st episode. That's my special number. That's the year I was born. So what better place to be today?
There you go. So anyway, let's start this out. Like I said, we're going to talk today about cracking that code on how to hire, how to build your team. So today, Sheryl has just recently become certified as a DISC Plus assessor and coach. And actually, you've got some higher levels you're going to move in this. So first thing let's talk about what is DISC, and this is spelled D-I-S-C, but tell people what a DISC assessment is, and we're going to talk about DISC today.
A DISC assessment is based on your personality and on your behavior. It doesn't tell me if you're a bad person, a good person. It just tells me that that's your traits. And then you have different idiosyncrasies in this that will narrow down and tell me why you are, who you are, and eventually I can get to that core problem. As we go farther into this, I'm more and more amazed at how it goes. I've worked within the idea of DISC for probably 10 years now, and just finally searched out the certification because I used it on a personal level. And I used it in my business, but I wanted to bring it to the public. And I knew the best way to do that was go out and find someone that could give me the formal training, because as you know, that's something I believe in highly. That's why we teach and train. We both believe in that. And in the DISC, you have different things. You have your natural, the way you are, who you are. You have your adaptive, of what you are at a given moment and why you're there. And so with these, I think you can get an assessment of how you are and why you are that way. And if you take it farther, of how and why other people are.
That is great. Okay, so DISC is spelled D-I-S-C. So let's start out. Let's tell people that are listening, what do each of those letters stand for?
There's different DISC programs. They're out there just like everything else. People have taken them and went off in different directions. They all come up with basically the same conclusions. So under certain ones, the D stands for dominant. Under others, they stand for decisive. Both mean both in the same quadrant. The I stands for interactive. It's how you are with people. The S stands for stability or stabilizing. And that's whether let's just say a stabilizing person can sit at a desk all day long. And C can be conscientious or cautious. Depends on which DISC program you're looking at.
Okay. So from here, like I said, we want to crack the code. That's part of what we're doing here. And we think we've got a tool here that can help crack the code. It's not going to do everything, but what it can do is tell you if you have the right candidate for a position. So the first question I want to ask before we go into this, can somebody lie on a DISC assessment?
You can lie on anything, but if you lie on this one, you'll come out looking like a sociopath or whatever. You're not going to be. I can look at a DISC and tell if you lie real quick, because each of us can talk to a person for 5 minutes and find out something about them. And yeah, can you lie? It's just a matter of you want to tell the truth on this, because nobody cares what you are, because that's who you are. They care that you are there, and then they know how to work with you.
Okay, got you covered. So can you pass or fail a DISC test, DISC assessment? Can you pass or fail it?
No, there's no pass or fail. You are what you are, and I am what I am.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit. Tell them, let's go in a little more detail. If they're a D, let's explain a little bit what a D is.
Okay, D has two ends. They all have both ends. A high D is going to be a very demanding person. If you're probably in the 90 plus, you're demanding, you're driving, you're forceful, you're daring. You're the person, much as I am, that jumps off the mountain and makes his wings up on his way down. Again, that's can be a good person in a leadership. On the other hand, if you're a low D, you're mild, you're agreeable. So either end's good. It's just who you are. And that's where we look at, and then we'll go into the other three. That's where people look at DISC wrong. They look at it like a roadmap. This is what I am. This is where I'm going. No, it's not. This is who you are, and this is what you can be.
Got you covered. So if I wanted to hire someone and part of their job role was, and this was a leading part of it, we want them to be able to make sales. Where should that person have their high percentages at? Is it the D, the I, the S, or the C?
In the I and the S, then I, because that was our next section, an I. If you're real, you don't want a high I person, because that's the woman that every time she sees you's got to hug you, whether she knows you or not. She's going to be your buddy just because you're alive. But you want them above a 50, because you want them to be able to talk with people real openly and be chitty chatty. But you want them a high S, because you want them to have done their homework. You want them to have their knowledge.
Okay. And now let's say I've got a job role I need to fill, and this is a technician role. This person has to be able to go out and problem solve. They've got to be able to fix things. They've got to have patience in order to do this. They've got to be able to be skilled. They've got to be able to learn. They've got to be able to apply this in the field, and they got to be able to work good with their hands and those type of things. What is that person? What are we looking for in that type of job role?
I would choose a high C and a high S. A high C is the perfectionist, because if you're going to be working on my gas, I want you to do it perfectly. I want you to be the S, so you've done your study, your homework, and you know what you're doing. I want you to be able to predict things. S's are very They can predict things. They are stable. I don't want you rushing through my gas like a D or an I would do.
Got you covered. So, what about if I needed a CSR, a secretary? What's the score we're looking for in this person? Where do they want to land in this?
Two different ways. If you're looking for a CSR, for one to answer the phone, you would want her to be above 50 by far, above 50 in the eye, very personable, very able to chit chat, but not carry on all day long, but enough to get a rapport with the people. You would want her to be a high S, so she would have her knowledge. She wouldn't have to be a perfectionist as long as she knew her knowledge. So C needs to be up there, but not that high.
Got you covered. So, do partners in business, should they score in the same, or we will say partners in life? If they should they score the same? Are they going to be different? How do they work against each other? How do they work together? What can the DISC score tell business partners or even husband and wives or whatever your life partners are? What does this tell us about these people?
Well, let's start with husbands and wives.
Okay.
Years ago, we always heard that opposites attract, which they do. So you go out and you meet this spouse that's the total opposite from you, that makes your yin and your yang work. They are everything you aren't. And you marry them, and then you find out they are everything you aren't. And so for the next 40 years, you argue. So which is better? To me, in a business, I think the partners or the spouse or the father, the son, I think they need to be almost exactly the same, because to me, it seems like if you have a high D husband, you need a high D wife in the business, because she needs to be able to deal with you. If you don't, you're going to put her down and she's going to feel inferior. Now, you're if your partner's in business, but you've allocated your positioning differently, if you are the decision maker and you want her to do the books and run the showroom, then you can be opposite. You each have to have it. You don't have to match to make a good group. You just have to match in your job roles.
Got you covered. So if someone ran a business
Mhm.
and they can't stand to do the numbers, they can't stand to deal to do with the details, they can't stand, they're not implementers. Where does that person usually fall at as far as the DISC assessment?
If they're those type people, we hope they have a high D because they need to make the decisions. But they're going to have a very low S and a very low C. They don't care about the numbers. They don't want to sit in the desk. They don't want to know the details. The only way they want the details is on a sheet of paper shoved in front of them saying, this is what we have. So there's where your differences come in. Your D's want the answers. They want them right now. And that's where a certain percentage of our business owners work well as a D. They lead from their mind. But on the other hand, just because you've got a low D doesn't mean you can't be a leader, but you will lead more from the heart. You have to still make the decisions, but then you have to be aware you need to hire somebody to help you make those decisions.
Okay. Now, it's my understanding there's different degrees of DISC assessment you can get. You can actually go on the internet and get them for free for companies, which will be a very limited report, very limited assessment, or you can go much deeper that give you monumental amounts of information about yourself. So tell people about what you're getting as you're doing a DISC assessment. I know you showing me that you've got color bars, you've got gray bars. So let's talk a little bit about the color bars versus the gray bars in each of the categories. What does this tell you? You're explaining to me that this means that a person, from my understanding, is operating below or above their inner core capabilities. Am I correct?
Either that or there's something going on in their life that is making them act different ways. Like if you have I'm going to use a female just because usually the female is considered the weaker of the species. I don't believe it, but that's what people say. But you can have a high D female with a high D male as her partner, and he is he puts her down, or maybe not puts her down, but he knocks her down. Let's just use those words. And so they can work together. She has to suppress her D so far down that her gray bar, which is called your adaptive bar, is really low. And by the end of the day, she's exhausted. She doesn't want to be there. She hates the job. And so there's a reason that it's happening. You could be going through a divorce also when you're not the person that you really are. We adapt to things, just like if you were a father and you had a low D and your child fell and got hurt really bad, you could jack your D way on up there to make the decision to get him to the hospital right now. So the differences in the color is the person you really are, and then the gray is the person you can adapt to be, such as a person that hates numbers. If you put them into a office job and you told them to do the books, could they do it? Yes, they could. But at the end of the day, or the end of whatever week, their S bar would be low, but their adaptive S would be high because they adapted to that role.
Okay. So let me ask you this. When you take a DISC assessment, I mean, is this a written test? I know what it is, but what I need you to do is explain to people, what do they do? What's the process to take the actual assessment? Is it painful?
Well, not unless you just want to make it that way. I mean, it's very simple. It started out years ago. Let's back up and say it was a very long test years ago to come up with the same answers. Now it's 2 sets of questions. The first set is a set of 10, and on each one, you just rank yourself as to how you fit on that particular line. And then there's 14 after that are what you would do and in what order you would do them. So you've got a total of 24 questions that should take you approximately 20 minutes. You have to take them all in one setting or it won't register. Now you can stop long enough to grab a phone call real quick if you needed to, or there are some words in there that are a little, some of them you might not actually understand. So I suggest that you're on the computer and you've got the dictionary up beside you so you can check those words out, because you want to answer this right, because if you answer it wrong, your reading's wrong.
Okay. So once they have taken the assessment, how long does it take to get results?
Immediately.
Immediately. So a DISC assessor like you're going to receive these immediately when it's done. So you're an assessor, you're certified to debrief people on this. Let's talk about what debriefing was, because I know when you did mine, I got this report that was like it seemed like it was 100 pages long, told me everything about myself that I could never imagine how that computer system, and to be honest with you, it was dead on the money. But at the same time, it really didn't make that much sense. But then you did the debriefing, as I've seen you do with other people. So what's involved in the debriefing? What goes on, and how long does the debriefing of a DISC take?
If you want to get an intense debrief, I suggest you setting up anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on how deep you want to go. I can take it across the top and do it in 45 minutes, but if you want to dig down into the why, set yourself up for 90 minutes, because these go really in depth. It goes not only into your personality and behavior, it also goes into the values and what makes you what you are.
Got you covered. Now, if we're going to use this as a recruiting hiring tool, when is the right time for someone to take this assessment? Is it after they come to work for us, during the initial interview process? When's the perfect place for someone we are considering hiring, bringing on our team? When do we do this?
In my opinion, it needs to be done before you hire them. In fact, the perfect timing is, let's say you've sent out for the job request and you've got all the resumes in. You're going to go through these. You're going to knock them down to 2 to 3. I would take those 2 to 3 people and put them through a DISC test at that time because you're not looking for 2 to 3 office managers, you're looking for 1.
Okay, so next question is, you've told me that this can be used to build teams. You can take existing teams and put your team members and assess your teams. And from this, you can then know who's in the right seats, who's in the wrong seats, who actually has the inner core to do the job successfully that they're doing, or what they're going to have to do. We also know at this stage that the DISC assessment allows us to have more ability to train people. This is what I'm seeing. The more I can know how people are, the easier it is for me to do training for them, and the same with you and every member of our team. So how do you use this with existing team members? Why should someone look at doing DISC assessment on their entire team?
One of the first things for that is the fact there is a section in there of how somebody prefers to learn, how somebody prefers to teach, to be taught to. And when you know what works for a particular person, when you know how to speak to them, how to convey the information, it makes it much easier. Example, if your gentleman you're working with is a high D, he doesn't want a whole lot of detail. You start with the important stuff with him. Now, if you've got somebody that's a high C, he's very detailed. As we said, that's your technician. He wants the why, the where, the when. And so you want him to have the detailed work. So it's a matter of the whole basis is communication.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you the question. I feel like this has cracked a code that we've been trying to crack for years. Hiring is the most difficult task that we have today. And I feel like a lot of times that we are setting people up for failure because they are not suited for the position. We're looking for warm bodies. A lot of times that's what we're doing. And we're setting people up for failure. By using this principle and using all the other steps that we've developed here at CVC Coaching with the onboarding, the recruiting, the first day, the training programs and everything, do you think we have cracked the code on hiring?
I think we've cracked the code if we use the whole recipe.
Correct. And that's what I'm telling people. You've got to use all the recipe. And it's just like, my grandmother could bake some great biscuits. The problem is nobody ever got her recipe. We know the things she used, but we didn't know exactly how she used them and how she measured them and those type of things. Or another is a coleslaw that she made. And you probably know this in your own life, those recipes. So what people have got to do to crack the code is you got to use all ingredients of the recipe. You have to use them at the right stage. Those things are critical. So again, Sheryl, let's repeat before we end this. How do people put this to work? What do they do?
With that, all you've got to do is contact me, put your team into this. I suggest that you as an owner would take it first so you understand yourself, but then take it to your employees, have them take it so you understand them, and starting with, do I have the correct people now? And then add, when you find your holes that you need to fill, then you hire for those holes, not just because somebody's breathing.
Okay. So from us at CVC, we feel this could be one of the most phenomenal tools to move you to a higher level. And so what you have the opportunity is Sheryl will be more than happy to have a conversation with you. There's no charge for this conversation, folks. It's just a matter of getting to know each other. And I'm going to encourage you to reach out to her. Send her an email. She's going to give you her information on how to contact her. There's also some blogs that we've recently released on our website, and you can actually go to Google and research quite a bit on the DISC certification, right?
You can research quite a bit.
You can research quite a bit. Now, Sheryl is a certified DISC assessor, DISC Plus, I believe.
Plus at this point.
And you're still going through and going to some higher levels in this to refine this even further over the coming months, correct?
I want to know what makes you tick.
That's correct. So, and Cheryl, so is a perfect person for this because she has such a high level of intuition to start with. It's almost scary. By being married to her, this is very scary. It's like, it's almost like she can see inside of another person's head at this point. It's really unreal. What has been the reaction of the people that you've done debriefings with to this point, Cheryl?
I've been amazed at their amazement. In fact, we have gotten letters back from them telling us what they thought. Some of them too long to post as a review. So I have had no one to this point that didn't learn something about themselves, and most of them a lot.
Okay, so we're going to end this podcast for today, and we're going to let Cheryl tell you how to get in touch with her. I'm going to highly encourage you, reach out to her. Let her share this new tool. It's going to crack the code for you. It's going to move you to that level. If you've been having problems with hiring people, if you've been having problems with people working out, if you've been having problems with people that just can't seem to learn, this may be your answer. So Cheryl, how do people reach you?
You can reach me at my email, which is Cheryl@CVC Coaching. And as Jerry says, I spell it weird. It's Sheryl, SHERYL @CVC Coaching. Also, at any time, feel free to call me or text me at the number 704-425-0211. And I do answer my own phone. So if you get a voicemail, just leave me a message. I'll be the one returning the call.
And you work 9 to 5, right?
Which day?
So, that's the whole thing. She can set up a time to meet with you outside of your business hours. If you need to meet with her on weekends, are you available?
I'm available on weekends. A lot of times I do block my calendar off on the weekend, or at least especially on Sunday, because we do some family things. But during the day, I do have time. I actually do have a family and I do enjoy them. But if you have a time that it needs to be done, believe me, everyone in my family understands that I'm out here to help people. So you just email me and we'll go from there.
And there you have it, folks. You got a way to crack that code. You know what it's like. You know the frustrations. You know what it's like to invest in the people and they just don't work out. Well, you know what? Now you got a way that I believe you can predict success or failure. Now, it's like Cheryl said, and I want to reiterate it, you got to use all the ingredients. If you simply do the DISC assessment and you had the right person come in, it's just like buying a new car. If you don't maintain it, change the oil and everything else. So that means you got to use all the other steps of the success recipe and put every single one to work for you. And if you do, you will do what we keep preaching here at CVC Coaching, and you're going to take your business dreams and you're going to transfer them into your business realities. And wouldn't that be great that you finally have those dreams, that you can touch them and you can grasp them and they are real? It can happen. And with that, this is Jerry Isenhour, CVC Coaching. I want to appreciate you tuning us in again. Our show is brought to you every week by our company, CVC Coaching. Check out our Basecamp e-learning platform. And now, adding to our toolbox is DISC assessment, a phenomenal tool that can take you and your team to the highest level. This is Jerry Isenhour. Thanks for joining me today. It's been an honor and it's a privilege and it's truly a pleasure to be able to share our thoughts with you here at CVC Coaching. Talk to you next time. Have a great week.
Thanks for joining us here each week at the Chimney and Fireplace Success Network, sponsored by CVC Coaching, providing you the coaching and educational outreach services you need to move to your dream destination in business.